The blow was sharp and dull. It wasn't the first time my father had hit me, but never like this. Not in the kitchen, not behind a closed door. He'd punched me in the face in the courtyard, in front of a crowd. I recoiled and barely managed to stay on my feet. Someone screamed. Someone froze. Several people raised their phones. "Stop playing the victim," he yelled, taking a step toward me as if he was about to hit me again. Mom laughed, loudly, mockingly. "Look at her, always asking for it," she said, not even trying to lift me. My brother clapped his hands, once, then twice. "Serves you right," he said with a grin. "Maybe now you'll come to your senses." There were a lot of people around, neighbors, some of my father's acquaintances, a delivery man with a box, a man with a child. No one came. No one said, "Stop." I felt something warm trickle down my cheek, but I didn't wipe it away. I just looked at them, at my people. And in that moment, I realized, to them, I'm not human. I'm a convenient thing. I turned around and walked to the car. Behind me, my father continued shouting. My mother laughed. My brother said something about ingratitude. I got behind the wheel, closed the door, and for a few seconds just stared into space. My hands were shaking, but inside it was unexpectedly quiet. So they decided they'd broken me. I've put up with this for years. You'll be lost without us. You have to help. We're family. Don't make things up. You're always fine. I paid their debts. I signed papers without reading them because Father knows best. I gave money to my brother because things are harder for him right now. I listened to my mother tell her friends how ungrateful and cold I was. If I tried to object, they reminded me of where I came from and who raised me. To them, I was weak, dependent, convenient. After today, they were sure I'd finally broken down, that I'd go home, cry, and come crawling back in a couple of days with apologies. They didn't know one thing. That night, I didn't go home. I pulled into an empty parking lot, turned off the engine, and pulled out my phone. The screen shook along with my hands, but I dialed the number correctly. The first call I made was to someone I'd been meaning to call for a long time, but kept putting off. I said just one sentence, and the line went silent. The second call was shorter. I asked a specific question and received an answer that finally settled something inside me. I made the third call in the early morning. I said, "I'm ready to hand over everything." I put my phone down on the seat and for the first time in a long time allowed myself not to be strong. Not for them, for myself. In the morning, they still didn't know it had already begun. My father called first in the morning. His voice was sharp and angry, as always, but there was a hint of alarm in it. "Where have you disappeared to?" he asked. "Do you realize what you did yesterday? People were watching. You embarrassed us." I listened silently. He continued saying something about ingratitude, about how it was my own fault, about how if I didn't come right away and apologize, there would be consequences. I hung up. An hour later, my mother called. Her tone had changed. "You understand, my father lost his temper," she began softly. Why are you making this so complicated? Let's just forget about it. Come over, let's talk like a family." I didn't answer her either. By lunchtime, my brother texted, "What are you doing? Do you even realize who you're crossing?" I stared at the screen and thought about how many years they'd spoken to me exactly like this, with threats, with pressure, with the certainty that I wouldn't go anywhere. And the issues were already underway. That afternoon, they called me back on the first ring. Calmly, to the point. They asked me to confirm dates, amounts, and names. I opened the folder I'd been collecting for years: receipts, copies, correspondence, audio recordings, all the things I'd saved just in case, never believing I'd ever need them. Toward evening, my father started having problems. I learned about it not from him, but from an acquaintance of his who suddenly stopped answering his phone. Then I received a message from my mother, this time without affection. "What have you done? They came to see us. Are you trying to destroy us?" I slowly typed out a reply. "I want you to stop using me." My brother came to me himself. He found the address. He always had a knack for finding what he needed. He stood by the door, angry, nervous, no longer clapping his hands with the confidence he'd shown the day before. "Who do you think you are now?" he said when I opened the door. "You think you can blackmail us just because you found some people?" "I'm not blackmailing me. I just stopped being silent." He tried to pressure me. He reminded me of how much they'd done for me. Then he threatened me. Then he abruptly changed his tone and asked me to resolve this quietly. I looked at him and realized I was seeing the real him for the first time, frightened. "Your family," he said finally. "You can't do this." "I was the first to decide I wasn't family," I replied, and closed the door. A few days later, the forged signatures were discovered. Documents I didn't know about. Money that went through my name. Witnesses were found faster than I expected. People who had previously turned away suddenly started talking. Mom called every day. She cried. She screamed. She begged. She promised to fix everything. Dad threatened at first, then remained silent. My brother wrote long messages, mixing guilt with requests. They still didn't know the main thing. They still thought I was just an offended daughter who couldn't take it anymore. They learned the truth later, when there was nowhere left to retreat. The truth didn't emerge in the kitchen or in a family conversation. It came out officially, dryly, through strangers' voices and papers. My father was the first to know. He was called for clarification. He was sure he'd sort it out, as always. He'd come back and scream again, but he didn't return that day. My mother called me that evening, her voice strange, broken. "Tell me what you did," she whispered. "They said that you weren't just—" She didn't finish. They'd already explained to her who I really was. Not a weak daughter, not dependent, not someone you could register and forget about. I'd worked for a long time with people who don't yell or hit. I knew what I was signing, even when I pretended not to understand. I knew what I was saving, and I knew who to give it to if the day came. That day came. My brother was the last to know. He came again, but no longer screamed. He stood in the courtroom corridor, hesitating to approach. Then he finally did. "You could have stopped it," he said quietly. "You could have just talked." I looked at his hands, the same ones he'd clapped when my father beat me. "I tried," I replied, "for years." Mom sent me her last message that night, short, without reproach. "We raised you." I didn't answer. Time passed. The house where I was beaten emptied. The people who laughed stopped making eye contact. The last name they used became a burden to them. No one sat down with me to make peace, and I didn't expect that. Sometimes I remember that blow. Not the pain, the sound, the clap, and the laughter. It still rings in my ears, but now it doesn't speak of weakness. It speaks of the point after which everything ended. I was left alone, and for the first time, free. If you liked this story, please like and subscribe.